My story begins in the same way many other stories begin. I grew up in a Christian home, went to a Christian school, attended a Christian church. In many ways, I was the epitome of a good Christian kid, and yet the more I read about Jesus, the more I felt like something was missing, like my faith was in turmoil. The more I read about Jesus, the more I felt like a Pharisee, giving voice to my beliefs all day long in the synagogue, and yet walking around the beaten and bloodied man on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. I was a legalist, trying to keep God happy through obeying a list of rules that I had compiled. And yet the more I read about Jesus, the more I realized he was far less concerned with perfectionism and far more concerned with praxis, meaning living out our faith in everyday life. And so that led me to a question: what does it mean to live out my faith? What does it look like to follow Jesus every day of every month of every year? One day I was reading in Matthew chapter 25, and I got excited because for the first time I began to see a picture of what it could look like to live out my faith. Jesus says, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." And I was excited. Here it was. Here was a picture of what it looks like to live out my faith. And yet I was also discouraged because I realized I wasn't doing any of these things. And so I began to realize the reason I feel like there's a disconnect between what I say I believe and the way that I'm living my life is because there is. And that's it. That is the core motivation behind the reason that I started 10 Days Without and the reason that I write this blog is because I want to know what the answer is to that question. What does it look like to live out my faith every day of every month, every year?